Love lives here.
Hey there, everyone. It is Michelle Geyer from Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. And today I am going to be sharing with you a book called Not My Idea, a book about whiteness, written and illustrated by Anastasia Higginbotham. Now, Anastasia Higginbotham is a white woman, and she wrote this book, or she made this book for her sons to help them learn about whiteness and how to engage with it in order to further dismantle white supremacy. And here's some of the people that she um, worked with to really learn more about the world and how it is for other folks. So here we go. When grown-ups try to hide scary things from kids, oh no, not again, Mother says. What? Mom, what not again? It's usually because they're scared too. And the little girl says, Who is that with their hands up? Why is that policeman screaming at him? Bang, 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 bang. They want to bury the truth. You don't need to worry about this. You're safe, understand? And the little girl's thinking, No. Our family is kind to everyone. We don't see color. Deep down, we all know color matters. And here's a drawing on the right-hand side here that the little girl is doing, trying to kind of work out some of the things that she's seeing and feeling. And if someone stopped by the police and they put their hands up, like the way they are in this picture that she's drawing, they're saying, I'm not trying to hurt you, I'll cooperate. Do you think it would ever be okay for a police officer to hurt a person who has their hands up? Sometimes this does happen, and people have been hurt and killed. And this happens more to Black and Indigenous people of color than it does to white people. And it's a big problem in our country. And even though police should be fair and protect all citizens, there's ideas that they've learned from when they were young and racism that they've learned that can lead to unfair treatment and the death of Black, brown, and Indigenous people at the hands of police. And families that are people of color, they teach their children very specific ways to act carefully with police so that they have a better chance of remaining safe. It's not fair that these families have to worry more about their safety. And there are people working to try to change the system. Some of your friends and maybe members of your family may not want or may want to ignore the problem, but you don't have to. Skin color makes a difference in how the world sees you and in how you see the world. So the mom and the child are going into a store. I want to bring my aunt a gift. This will only take a minute. It makes a difference in how much trouble seems to find you or let you be. Look at this picture. Who's the security guard watching? Which child is the security guard watching? Is that fair? Can you tell by the color of a person's skin whether or not they'll be careful or whether or not they'll be honest? No, we can't tell that. In stores, in cars, on sidewalks, at school, your skin color affects the most ordinary daily experiences, including which neighborhoods welcome you, "Oh, I'm so relieved you got here safely." "Well, why wouldn't we?" "Well, the protests." It looks like maybe the little girl is going to visit her grandparents, and the grandfather's sitting in his chair listening to the television, and he's saying, "They're blocking the road." And from the TV, you hear, "Marchers came to demand justice for the unarmed African American. They demand an end to killings across the nation, part of a shameful pattern that has claimed the lives, particularly of young men of color." Marchers referenced past victims and a video taken by a bystander. You may get the message that racism is only happening to Black and brown people. But racism is a white person's problem, and we are all caught up in it. So over here on the left, they're watching the television that says breaking news. Family speaks out on police shooting. And over here on the right, the little girl's watching, and her grandmother is saying, "I can't watch the news." And her mom is saying, "That police officer was just doing his job." And mostly they decide to refuse to look at it. So the adults are saying, "Come away from the TV now. Look, I made your favorite." So they're trying to distract the little girl from paying attention to it. But you can face this. She's come into the kitchen now, but she hears, still from the TV, "Racial justice. We must step up." Understanding the truth takes courage, especially a painful truth about your own people and your own family. And sometimes it can be hard to hear that you're responsible for helping to fix a problem that maybe you didn't start, you personally. But it's still important to be a helper. It's not okay to say, "This isn't my problem because I wasn't the one that did it," right? That's another way of ignoring it. So now they're back in the car, and the mom is asking the little girl, "Are you all right?" Even people you love may behave in ways that show that they think that they are the good ones. So, for instance, it looks like now where they're driving, the neighborhood that they're driving in, has a lot of Black or Indigenous people of color. And the mom is reaching to lock the car door and grabbing her purse, holding on a little tighter to it. Racism wasn't your idea, and you don't need to defend it. You can bring your curiosity to learn about it and see that it's true. So it looks like now they've gone to a library. And there's a book called Our Shared History that the little girl is discovering. And it says, "In the United States of America, white people have committed outrageous crimes against Black people for 400 years. All along, every step of the way, people who love justice and love each other have been fighting back." Many white people did things that they never should have done. They denied opportunities in bank loans, denied housing and kicked people out of their houses, denied voting rights by creating tests that people had to pass in order to vote, and those were only given to people of color. Many other white people failed to see the problem with this. And they exploited the love and labor of Black women, having Black women take care of their children. These choices put wealth and power into white hands, homes, and neighborhoods. some white people joined the leaders of Black liberation. And liberation means love and freedom. So there's pictures of some folks here who have worked for justice. Julian Bond and members of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, 1963. Angelina Grimke and Sarah Grimke, 1838. Abolitionists, suffragists, and sisters. Nina Simone, 1967. Nuns and fellow marchers on the Selma to Montgomery March in 1965. John Lewis and fellow demonstrators kneel in 1962. And Colin Kaepernick kneels in 2017. Racism is still happening. It keeps changing, and it keeps being the same. And yet, just being here, alive in this moment, you have a chance to care about this and to connect. But connecting means opening, and opening sometimes feels like breaking. And the mom's getting ready to go, and she's like, "Our car's parked over here, love," trying to get her to leave. The little girl says, "Mom, I don't feel good." And the mom says, "Uh-oh, should I pull over?" And the little girl says, "I need to know what's going on." "What are you talking about? Why didn't anyone teach me real history? I do see color. I see yours, mine, and everybody's. You can't hide what's right in front of me. I know that what that police officer did was wrong." Go with your instincts on this one. Racial justice is possible, but only if we're honest with each other and ourselves. "I see a playground over there. Want to get some air?" "Yes," the little girl says. Your history's not all written yet. What do you want it to say? You get to decide what kind of person you are and will become in the world. How will you use your power to change things when they are unfair in your community? Want to know whose liberation you're fighting for? Remember, liberation means love and freedom. You're fighting for your own. White supremacy has been lying to kids for centuries. White supremacy is pretend, but the consequences are real. The truth is much simpler. There's an image of a hand holding a gun, a white hand holding a gun, and that's dangerous. And there's an image of a person of color who is raising their hands in the air, and that is not dangerous. Whiteness is a bad deal. It always was. And with this contract binding you to whiteness, you get stolen land, stolen riches, special favors. Whiteness gets to mess endlessly with the lives of your friends, neighbors, loved ones, and all fellow humans of color for the purpose of profit. Whiteness has been used as a weapon. But you can be white without signing on to whiteness. So here is Juliet Hampton Morgan. She was born in 1914 and died in 1957. She was a white librarian who fought for racial justice in Montgomery, Alabama. When Juliet was riding the bus and the white driver would refuse to pick up a black bus driver, even after he had collected their fare, he had already collected their money, Juliet would pull the emergency cord and raise HE double hockey sticks until the driver did his job. This was an act of love for herself and for the community to which she belonged. What she did is called disrupting white supremacy. You can grow justice inside yourself like a bean sprout in a milk carton. And what if it dies? You plant it again. You never stop planting justice. A strong internal sense of justice will not fail you, even when a lack of justice in the world does. Innocence is overrated, but knowledge is power. Get some, grow wise, and make history. So I want to talk about this just for a moment, because while we know that every shade of skin is beautiful, we live in a world that privileges or shows special treatment to people with white skin. Some people are okay with the world being unfair like this because it makes life easier for them. White people benefit from this system whether they want to or not. Recognizing that fact is the first step in a commitment to creating change. White people can use the privileges that come from having white skin, being listened to, having more opportunities, being safer when speaking up, to show up with Black people to make the world safer and more fair. Together we can say, hey, that's not fair. That rule is wrong. And we can work to take apart the systems that give special treatment to white people. So like this page back here said, let's click back to it here. You can be white without signing on to whiteness. Your history is not all written yet. What do you want it to say? What choices will you make to change this world that we're living in?
Love lives here.